Hello, everyone. You are watching the 36 Chambers of Crypto Taxes podcast series. My name is Crypto J, also known as Jamaal Solomon, and I love to talk about all things crypto taxes. But what I love to do most is talk about the wonderful people within the blockchain ecosystem. And listen, guys, I'm going to be 100% transparent, and my kids is in the background distracting me. Uh, I did a wonderful interview with this person before, and then when I recorded it, I did not record it on my computer. So he was nice enough to say, you know what, let's do this another try, and hopefully we could duplicate the great interview that we had. So welcome, Taylor Zork, co-founder of CryptoCFOs. Thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me, Jamaal. Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to. Hopefully, we can. I think we can. I think we can redo the magic. We got it.
So tell us a little bit about CryptoCFOs, and I just want to let you know I completed the free fundamentals course this year.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, we've got 3 more coming. So you'll be able to access those as well. Those are all included as part of the membership as well. So you'll be able to see those, and hopefully in the next week or so. They're all recorded and they're just getting edited right now. So yeah, so Crypto CFOs is an educational community. So we're our own kind of social media app. We have a desktop version, an iOS version, and a Google Play version, so for Android as well. And essentially what it is one of the challenges I had as a crypto professional when I got started was obviously there's a lack of regulation and a lack of clear guidance, but also there was a lack of other accounting professionals in the space. So when I had questions about things, it was really like on me to go find that information myself and put on my accounting theory hat and figure it out. I was fortunate enough to have some connections with Dr. Sean Stein-Smith, who's a professor at Lehman College, and Joey Ryan, who was the CFO of Gilded Finance. And we would have little meetings together to talk about some of the kind of new emerging issues like DeFi and things like that and how we would account for them. But what was helpful for me was to have that sense of community. So that's what I've created here with Crypto CFOs. Is it's a way for accounting professionals to connect, but we also have educational resources and like course videos, like you mentioned, and weekly discussions, so that we kind of get at the meat of what the issues are in the community. So that's what it represents, a place where people can go and learn in a no stupid questions kind of environment and really kind of just dive in and seize their piece of this market.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of love, like I said before, that I feel like, as I was doing research on crypto taxes the past 2 years, I feel like the sites that I was learning from was always trying to sell me something. And then I got to second guess it. And then I kind of had the conversation with this crypto tax lawyer, and he represents a lot of people in front of IRS and tax court. And then he just dawned on me, he just told me, say, hey, listen, one of the worst things you could do is learn from those crypto tax websites that's, the software and they organize it. And I didn't think about it, but he said, you know what, it's kind of information is kind of made to make them look good. And that's when I said, when I saw your website, I said, oh, you know what, I need to get a little deeper. I need to find a community that we're all in the same thing.
Mhm.
And that's what I kind of love about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that it's really important because a lot of those crypto tax software, they can be great if you use them properly, but I think they're kind of sold as like okay, I'm just a regular CPA and I'll just have my client fill that in and they'll just send me the report and I'll file it that way. And the problem with a lot of those is that it operates like most of accounting, where if you have garbage information going in, you get garbage out, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And I think they don't do a really great job of tracking cost bases across different platforms. So if you're the person who just only operated on one exchange like Coinbase or whatever, and you just bought like on a weekly basis, you may be fine just throwing your stuff in one of those tax calculators. But ultimately, if you're doing anything where you're doing multiple exchanges or DeFi or anything like that, it's not going to capture your cost basis properly. And so you're going to have issues where you're paying taxes on way higher value amounts because it's not tracking cost basis. So it assumes your cost basis is zero. And that creates a lot of issues. And it's something that a lot of CPAs aren't aware of. And so they're just kind of blindly filing these reports because they're trusting the tax software. And as I said, it can be good, but you have to put the right information in. And that's what requires professional tax help. And yeah, I think they can be great tools, but you got to really know how to use them properly.
So what type of tax accountant do you think will benefit from this? Is it someone that just say, you know what, I'm going to start doing crypto taxes? Or is it someone that maybe they've been doing taxes for 30, 40 years and they're trying to keep certain clients? Like, what type of tax accountant should get into your site?
I think that what we say in cryptos at crypto CFOs, and it sounds a little bit like salesy, but ultimately what I think it rings true is that crypto is moving from a niche to a necessity. You start to see reports like Pew Research's study that came out in November 2021. They showed that 16% of Americans hold cryptocurrency, and that was as of 2021, November. That's a large portion of your clients. If you think that close to 20% of your clients are interacting with crypto, and that's been accelerating. That number has been increasing very heavily over the last couple of years, and I think that will continue. So whether or not you think that this is a scam or a fad or whatever, a large portion of your client pool is investing in this and thinks that there's some value in it. So you need to be able to, if you want to keep some of your clients that are starting to dabble in this, they're either going to ask you questions and you're going to be able to answer them, or you're going to send them to someone else, or they're going to realize that you don't know what you're talking about and they're going to go somewhere else. And so that could be someone who you might have had this client for 15 years, but if you can't handle this new wave of this transition from TradFi to DeFi, you're going to be left behind. And I think you're going to see revenue stagnate over the next few years and then eventually start to fall off, because as adoption increases, this is on a conservative level, this is a $5 billion per year tax prep market. When you just look at the numbers, it's like, you assume that everyone, and it's not only just the yearly thing, it's look backs too, because as you mentioned before, the crypto tax softwares, a lot of CPAs were just filing those filings and really creating a larger tax burden for their clients. So, I mean, to come back to your original question, is who is this for? I think it's really for anyone who wants to be taken seriously in 5 or 10 years and ultimately be able to start to leverage this new kind of wave of financial tools. So you don't need to be an expert, I think, to get into this, but you do need to know the basics, because ultimately I'd say 80% of your clients aren't going to be doing a ton of DeFi stuff. So a lot of the clients are going to be kind of like low hanging fruit, easy to do clients. And I think that once you start to demystify the crypto world, you realize that it's not all that challenging, because there's a paper trail and there's a public backing to everything that's happening. So yeah, I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah, and I think to go back to the fundamentals course, I think honestly speaking, I think non-tax accountants should look at that, because me as an enrolled agent, I represent a lot of people that has some crazy tax problems, and 9 out of 10 times they kind of trusted a tax accountant too much, right? So what I love about the fundamentals is not making you an expert. You're not going to go through the courses and but it breaks it down, simplifies. So let's say you are investing in crypto. You're not a tax accountant, taxpayer. At least you could understand whether or not your tax client is the accountant is the right person to file your taxes. Because I feel like if you don't know those basic fundamentals, they could tell you anything, and next thing you know, the IRS hits you with a $50,000 bill, and that's what usually happens in tax resolution. So, how can a tax client figure out whether or not their tax accountant is still the right person to file their crypto taxes?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. That's a really great question. I think there's a couple of good questions that you can pose to your tax accountant to see if they're kind of the right fit for you. And one of them is to ask them if they're invested in the market personally, or what their experience is with crypto. Because a lot of times I find that the best way to learn and the best way to help people learn is to have them go through the steps themselves. So I'm not saying everyone who wants to learn this has to invest in crypto, but I do think that you should have some sort of, like, even if it's $10 that you go and you buy some ETH with on Coinbase or Kraken or whatever exchange you choose, going through the process of purchasing on chain or purchasing on an exchange and then moving it to a non-custodial wallet, and then maybe even interacting with a DeFi protocol like Uniswap, watching that happen on chain and tracking it throughout the process really helps you to see how this all works and interacts. So I think that um, doing is the best way to kind of start to understand this. And so when you go back to your tax accountant, and if you ask them basic questions like, are you invested in crypto? Like, are you, what do you think some of the tax implications of ETH's merge from proof of work to proof of stake was? You can ask them a couple of questions just to see kind of to gauge where they're at. And I think that the biggest thing is, are they invested? Because ultimately, it's really hard to understand what's going on if you haven't had a little bit of experiential knowledge. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a DGen trader that's, up till 2 a.m. watching the charts, right? You can just go through the process of what does it mean to self-custody my funds? What does that mean? And just investigating a little bit there. But really just buying a little bit of crypto and transferring it off of an exchange is a really great step, so that you kind of can understand what's happening there, so you know what questions to ask.
And this question is a little off topic, but I saw your LinkedIn post this morning. You do a lot of great posts, and it's about FTX, and that's just a soap opera in itself. So I just want to ask a general question. How come nobody's really questioning the tax accountants and auditors in the situation? They're
I
not
think
supposed to do
that
tax returns because maybe they use registered with
well,
another country.
yeah, so they were privately held, so they didn't have any, the only auditing, so only they were four silos at FTX. FTX group was a massive, they had like 130 different subsidiaries, right? The two silos that were audited were the WRS silo, which included FTX US and Ledger X, and then the .com silo, which was FTX.com. And the only reason they really, I think that they got those audited was because they had to. They had third-party investors. The other two silos were just held by like the top executives at FTX, like SBF and Nishad Singh and Gary Wang. So those ones, they were private companies and they didn't have anyone else to answer to, so they didn't get those audited. But they kind of had to get the other ones audited because they had outside investors. Now, to answer your question about the auditors, they really there weren't a lot of the big four companies that were doing audits like this because of the scope and the difficulty required in auditing. But they did have an auditor, Armanino LLP, which is, they say that they claim to be one of the top 25 CPA firms in the US, and they audited the WRS silo. And a big issue with them was that, there were tons of red flags that, now they say they weren't tasked with auditing internal controls, but that's ultimately wrapped into, you have to look at internal controls to understand the bigger picture. And so, that was their way of saying that they recently came out and said that they stood by their results. And I think that that's an embarrassment as an accounting firm to say that you still stand by this. You should admit that you were wrong, admit that you missed these glaring red flags. FTX didn't have an internal accounting department. They didn't have anyone working in an accounting function at FTX, a $32 billion organization. So I think that really highlights the need for accounting help here. And whether that was by design, SBF didn't want people looking at this too deeply, or whether it was just an inability to hire people, I find that hard to believe as a $32 billion organization. But
they're giving people 15 million, $10 million to endorse themselves, but they couldn't get $1 million accounting.
Yeah. I mean, they were approved. They were doing expense approvals via Slack with emojis. Like, he would respond with an emoji to say like it was all good, and they didn't have any full list of bank accounts or employees. Even there was a lot of issues where if I'm an auditor, you just have to open the books for 1 second to see that there was issues going on here. So I think the biggest thing is that they were a private company and that they didn't have reporting requirements at a larger scale. So a lot of this got overlooked, but a lot of big investors didn't do their due diligence either because they kind of were incentivized not to.
So I think the moral story in two situations. Listen, if you're a big company or you're auditor, small, big, I don't care what size accounting you are, sometimes it's not worth just taking that nice little check. I'm not saying that's what they did.
Yeah.
But it kind of looks like
it's
not worth it because you will be in the spotlight. You will have to handle it. It's your reputation. That check ain't gonna get you far. And for these crypto people that's looking for tax accountants and you found a tax accountant that will sign off on it, do know if it's between you or them, they will talk about you. They will, do what you can. Just like I said, I represent a lot of people in audits, and I could tell you they always blame the tax accountant. So sometimes, guys, it's just not worth it. I tell my
But I
clients all
mean,
the time, man.
yeah, ultimately, it's even if you blame your tax accountant, you are responsible for your own return.
Yep,
So you need to know that
exactly.
you're trusting the person. And ultimately, you know what? I think what TX really highlights is the need for accounting professionals in this space. And I think that they wanted to be a crypto accounting firm. They also had another accounting firm called Prager Matus, which really doesn't have any, I've never even heard of them. They were auditing the .com silo, but really what it highlights is the need for accounting help here. And I think that we're going to start to see more regulations and more clear rules and guidance on all this stuff. So I think that's where you start to see the absolute need. And when at Crypto CFOs, we focus a lot on the tax prep side, but there's a massive market that we address as well for just the accounting side. If you want to be an accountant for a crypto startup, there's a ton of opportunities there. And the thing that I love about these niches and why I got into cannabis originally was that in these niche industries where people aren't willing to jump in with 2 feet, you have the ability to charge way more than you can for regular work. So you can take on fewer clients, live a lifestyle where you have a really great work-life balance if you just focus in and specialize on a niche. And it's great when there's a niche that is also kind of has the potential to become the new financial system as well. So that's what I see here with crypto.
Yeah, I used to be into the small business thing and represented people, but I feel like everybody and their mother do it now. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to get more into the crypto tax side of things. I think
Yep.
final question. So what is the future for your company, your website? What does people should expect?
Yeah, so we are in our approvals for NASBA to be able to offer CPE on our platform. So the goal is to offer CPE coming in 2023. We're first going to start with live, but then eventually all of our courses, or a vast majority of them, should be approved for QAS self-study. Now, that's all obviously pending approval, but we're very confident that we'll be able to get that done in 2023 as well. So like the podcast that we do, those sort of things, will hopefully start to have CPE attached to them as well. So I think the moral of the story here is that if you're a CPA firm, or not even a CPA firm, you're just a bookkeeper or an accountant, and you want to find a career that is high paying and allows you to work remotely and is in an industry that is just absolutely booming for a need for accounting and tax professionals, specializing in crypto can make you loads of money. And I think that all you have to do is just look on LinkedIn for anyone who has a crypto tax practice. They're all looking for help, and none of them can find it. I interviewed a woman, Sharon Yip, the other day. She's been hired by the IRS to talk about this stuff, and she can't find crypto tax professionals to work for her because they just don't exist. So that's what we're trying to help cultivate here. And I hope that if people look on our website, they'll start to see that we offer a lot of the steps to help you get to that point so that you can start to crush your revenue goals into 2023. I think that it's a really important market to at least take a look at if you want to grow.
Yeah, and like I said, people, I'm putting my rep on the line. I believe that this website, and I don't do this. This website is needed. It's going to grow. So now's the time while it's small to get into it, get known into it, because I personally went through their website. I went through their stuff. I'm looking at their water coolers. I'm looking at the different rooms and stuff like that. Yeah, tax accountants need to be on this site, man. I'm honored for you to take the time two times to come talk to me so we can do this. So all right,
Yeah.
man. Continue
Thank you
like
for
yeah.
Yeah, thank
What
you
is
for
it?
having me, Jamal. I appreciate it. And let's stay in touch. And if I can support you in any way in the community at all, keep reaching out. I'd love to help out whoever I can. And I really want people to start succeeding in this, because I see the potential it can have for people to really just level up their lifestyle too. Like you can, once you can take on these high value clients, you know, the door is open for you to take it however you want. So thanks again for having me, Jamal. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a happy new year.
Yeah, take
All
care.
right.
Bye
Bye.
now.